Hi, Northaven friends and family, and welcome to Northaven Voices this week. This week, I am honored and grateful to be able to visit with Brenda Smith. And so thank you, Brenda, and hello, Brenda. We're glad
Hello.
to have you with us this week. So,
Well, thank you. I'm excited and a little nervous.
of course, of course. Well, we always start off with just asking you saying, who are you? Tell us a little bit your profile about your background, where you grew up, call education, what you do, so forth. So,
Oh, okay. All right. I was born and raised in Okmulgee County, Oklahoma, and spent all 12 years at Beggs school system, which is a small town of about maybe 1,300 people, something like that. My graduating class had a whopping 68 people, I think, something like that. Yeah, so our reunions when we get together, it's a very intimate time.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But I kind of I don't know, I guess maybe floundered around with education and working, sort of just going back and forth between the two. And so I started working for General Motors Acceptance Corporation, GMAC, which is now known as Ally,
Yeah.
when I was 19, and spent 31 years and 6 months there before retiring. And then during all of that time, I managed to get a couple of degrees, a bachelor's degree in organizational management and a master's degree in human relations and business.
And I saw you got your master's at Amberton.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I got my master's.
Here.
I got my master's. I got my master's at Amberton too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I like going there. It was really It worked very well for a full-time. If you were full-time employed, that's what I like.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I even went to the campus most of the time.
Yep.
I only took one online course and had a fabulous instructor there who tragically died a few years ago from, I'm not going to say this right, but Crutchfield-Jacobs disease, which is very, very rare, and I guess described as sort of the human mad cow. So she was this brilliant professor of ethics, just wonderful to listen to. Yeah. And so I felt so blessed that I was able to take, and statistics, a few classes from her. And she was also an artist. She had a gallery in Dallas. I think it was called The Flea's Ear or something like that. Maybe some people have heard of it. Yeah. But yeah, Amberton, I enjoyed that experience. I'm glad that the Dallas Garland area has that school.
Me too. It was really work. It was the best thing that happened to me for working full time. And like you said, I loved the professors. A lot of them was great to work with. So great. So where in Oklahoma? Where is that, near Tulsa or Oklahoma City or? So
it's closer to Tulsa. It's in Okmulgee County, which is the Indian Nations Turnpike. You go, through Henrietta, then Okmulgee, then to Beggs, and then the next big stops are Glenpool and Tulsa.
Okay. Well, I am a Boomer Sooner fan as well, so
there you go.
Yeah. Well, I love your postings about Boomer Sooner. So
yes. Yes, I'm rabid.
So tell us about your why Northaven.
Why Northaven? Okay. So I grew up in a conservative church, and I'm trying not to knock them. Sometimes I do, but certainly they were not LGBT friendly. Yeah. So I kind of went, away from church from the years 18 to 35. And yeah, right. This is a small gap of time. And so when I heard that Northaven was LGBT friendly and inclusive, I'm like, well, I got to go check that out. Yeah. And then I don't know, I guess I guess the bigger question is, though, why do people stay at Northaven?
Yeah.
And I think that's just because it's such a great place to grow in your faith and put your faith to work, or your faith to practice. And that was something that I'd never really had in a church before. I mean, it was a lot more about teaching doctrine, my experience anyway, than it was to actually take what you're learning or what you're feeling, what you have in your heart, and go do something with it.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that. It's just so you can just be wherever you are in your path of seeking, but there's always a lot of workshops there, or classes that could learn quite a bit from. So yeah.
True. Yeah. And it was, for me, Northaven has always been a clearinghouse to do a lot of the things that really speak to me, like missions, and I enjoy, the Amigos Days that I used to be involved in, that I wouldn't have found that without a church like Northaven. Guatemala, of course. And, we all know why I have a connection to Guatemala, but just all these opportunities to actually work in the community, meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, because I tend to stay in my zip code.
Yes, I get that. Yeah. So why don't you tell us about the Amigo Days a little bit? So for those that may not, it's been a while since we've done anything like that. So
Amigos Days has been discontinued. Amigos Days was a partnership between the city of Dallas, a group within the city called People Helping People, and then I think mostly, if not exclusively, the United Methodist Churches in the North Texas Conference. And so we would supply the volunteer labor, hopefully with 2 or 3 skilled people in that group, but we could always find a job for everybody. And we would partner with the city of Dallas. They would buy the materials, and we would go to someone's house pre-selected, and we would we would fix their house up so that it was livable, mostly so it would meet code compliance. Right. So thankfully, in all the years that I did it, there's this great guy at Northaven, 2 great guys at Northaven, named Ben Marshall and Cy Watson.
Yeah. I love that.
Those are the skilled references I was
yes.
making, but no, we had others too, but I could always count on those guys. And so they would lead the construction, and I would be the person who recruited all the volunteers and kind of took care of all the logistics. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, well, I remember seeing the pictures and how much work you guys did and support for the community. It was so beautiful to see that.
It was so awesome.
It was great. So thank you very much for all the years you did that. Yeah.
I wish we could still do it.
I know. I was just thinking the same thing. So tell us a little bit more about your spiritual journey.
Oh my. Gosh, best described as a tangled, befuddled, promising, hopeful mess sometimes. So, I think about that a lot. Sometimes, like Ann's sermon yesterday really struck a chord with me because she said, you don't have to be the smartest or the most biblically knowledgeable. You don't have to be this, you don't have to be that. I'm a person that sometimes is too hard on myself. And so, I get frustrated with my spiritual growth sometimes. And then I just have to be reminded, like she said in the sermon, that, sitting still and being present, and just allowing yourself to just see the face of God in others. I guess she was talking about something else, but that it also struck a chord with me that, that's something that I want to continue working on. But I had to unlearn, easy for me to say, unlearn a lot of teachings, I guess, from my old conservative days. Not all of them, but a lot of them, just as far as how I think about God and what I think, God wants from us. And so that, I'm going to be 60 years old in a couple of months, and I'm still working on that. So, but that's okay, because every day gives you something to shoot for, right?
That's right. We all continue to grow and transform, right? Change.
Yeah.
So that's what the beauty of life is. I'm going to be 70, so I'm still working on it. So,
good. I'm not alone.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about your work with the animals? Your postings on Facebook and your gift to the community and rescuing and caring for these animals and finding wonderful homes for them, and just just so much that you give. And I just would love to hear more about that. So.
Oh, thank you. I am an animal control officer, so I'm state certified to do that job. I actually have to have continuing education credits to keep my job. So I guess it's more than what some people think. I have a bumper sticker that says I'm more than the dog catcher. But that is a large part of what I do. No lie, I do chase a lot of dogs. But I got into animal control after retiring from General Motors. I spent a couple of years retired and hung out with my kids, and then did some things at Northaven, some mission type things. Then I wanted to get back to work. So I ended up, after a short stay of doing substitute teaching and working in special ed at Saxe High School, I was volunteering at the animal shelter, and the job came open, and I thought, well, yeah, I'd like to do that, and that's more physically active than what I'm doing. So heck yeah. So I've been an actual animal control officer for 3.5 years now. Okay. So what do I do? Well, I have a badge. I enforce the laws, the city codes in our city with regard to pet registrations and not letting your dogs run at large, and not letting your dogs do unmentionables in other people's yards. Oh yeah, it runs the gamut. Barking dog. I have to go knock on doors about people who let their dogs bark too much, or let them bark too late at night. I pick up wildlife. So if somebody traps wildlife, I go relocate it to a nature preserve. But the post you mentioned. So yeah, I want to rehome all the animals that cross my path. And during the pandemic especially, that got harder and harder because we didn't have any foot traffic in the shelter. So, you can do a lot of adoptions on Fridays and Saturdays when people are just looking for something to do, and they wander into the shelter and find some dog or cat they can't live without, or chickens, whatever I happen to have at the moment.
That's right.
But during the pandemic, it was, you might as well have been trying to hold a Zoom call to adopt animals. We didn't do that, but I had to get very creative with Facebook posts, doing videos, getting a lot of people to share what I was putting out there. It was a lot of work, but I enjoy that. That's part of, to tie back to an earlier question, all that creative work that I do with the shelter, it also feeds me spiritually.
Yeah. I can tell that. Just with your postings, you can just, your passion and your love for what you're doing. So it's just great. It shows. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So what brings you joy, Brenda?
Nature brings me joy is probably the number one answer. I mean, there's nothing like, I know you and Tim can relate, there's nothing like going for a hike. And, getting physically tired, but also just taking in those moments to sit and listen, close your eyes, listen to the birds, and take pictures. Again, part of that creativity that keeps me joyful, feeds my spirit, is to take pictures and try to capture sunlight, try to capture sunrises and sunsets. And nature is just God's gift to us, and it's the place to be. I'd be outside all the time if I could be.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's just such a grounding with it. It's just so peaceful. If you feel it, like from my perspective, if you just get real stressed out or feeling really anxious, just step outside. Sometimes I think I just step outside and just and just let the nature ground you.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, how has your life been different than what you imagined?
Well, for one thing, I never thought that, in my middle 50s and until I quit, that I would be running around, picking up possums by the tail and going out on snake calls and
yeah.
Convincing pit bulls, hey, I come in peace, be nice. I never saw that one coming. That's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly never saw myself as being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I had anything against it really, but it just wasn't in the order of things when I was growing up, because the messages about whether LGBT could be parents, I guess you could say there were some mixed messages, but most of them were negative.
You're right.
And so I never thought about experiencing the joy of sleepless nights or
exactly.
or children throwing up in my hands, or I never saw any of that coming. And so, that's been different than anything I could have expected. And then, of course, also one of my greatest gifts, especially now that my girls are older, we've lived through most of the hard stuff. So, it's just a joy to know both of them as adults.
Yeah. And one just got married, right? So.
Yes, Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hannah
Beautiful.
got married in November in Sedona.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
And he's a nice guy. I like him. So
that's good.
So that's always good. Yeah.
I saw those eyebrows. I like him, so he's good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Do you have a Bible story or spiritual or a verse that you just hold on to that means something special to you, that or like a mantra of for your life? Or something?
Not any one particular, although after yesterday's sermon, maybe it's going to be the John telling of the Easter story.
Yeah.
That was just such a great sermon, wasn't it?
It was a wonderful sermon. Yes.
It really was. I like the parables, of course, because you get something different every time. Maybe not every time I read them, but every time I hear somebody speak about the parables, it seems like I learn or I pick up something a little different to think about.
Mm-hmm.
As far as a mantra, I probably always have to go back to verses that are similar to Matthew 25, where we're called to take care of the least of these.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of fits in with what I do for a job, and just kind of how I see our place on this earth, that we should leave things better than we found them, and that when we have an opportunity to help, we should help.
Thank you, Brenda. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. It's a lesson for all of us to be reminded of. That's what we that have should give back, and serve. So tell me, just in the conclusion, just how would you want to be remembered?
Well, first of all, I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered as somebody that cared about people, cared about animals, just cared about justice, about people being able to live their best lives, and animals being able to, to be in happy homes, and just, that I wanted to help, that when there were opportunities that I would step up and help. So I guess that's how I want to be remembered, that I hopefully added more than I took.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that has been true from my experience with you, Brenda, especially if you talk about Amigos Days and all that gift of, and then also with Guatemala, and so, I mean, and then with the animals, of course. So, and of course, raising your girls, your children.
Oh, yeah.
So,
my babies.
Your babies. You're a wonderful model. So thank you. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it, and hope to see you. Hopefully we'll be coming together soon in the church and we can see each other more often. Yeah.
Well, I hope so. That was so awesome yesterday.
Yeah. Well, you take good care and be safe out there chasing all those animals.
It's my day off, so today's an easy day.
Okay, well, I look forward to the next posting then.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye.